I didn't do it to catch her. I just wanted to understand why my daughter kept calling her mama in her sleep. That's all I was looking for, an explanation. I never imagined the test would come back and tell me something that changed every single thing I thought I knew about my own family. That was Rachel. She was 38 years old, living in a house she had filled with everything she believed the safe. A good husband, a healthy child, a woman she trusted completely to care for that child while she worked. The DNA test she ordered on a Tuesday afternoon cost $47. What it uncovered could not be priced. This is a story about the thing we hand to the people we trust most, not just our children, but the private, unguarded center of our lives. The question this story asks, and refuses to answer simply, is this: when someone lives inside your family long enough, how do you ever know where their story ends and yours begins? There are 3 questions this story refuses to answer quickly. The first: how long can someone live inside your home before you truly see them? The second: what do you do when the person you trusted with the most fragile thing in your life was carrying a secret that had nothing to do with you and everything to do with your child? And the third, the one Rachel says she still cannot fully answer, is this: when the truth about someone else's past redraws the map of your own family, which version of that family was ever real? These are not simple questions. They do not have clean resolutions. But this story has an ending. And the ending is not what anyone expected, including Rachel herself. Rachel Haynes was not someone who made decisions lightly. When she and her husband Greg returned to work after the birth of their daughter Lily, Rachel spent 3 months interviewing potential nannies before she hired anyone. She built a spreadsheet. She ran background checks. She wrote down questions in a notebook she kept on the kitchen counter, turning to a fresh page before each interview. She asked candidates how they handled a child who would not stop crying at 2 in the morning. She asked what they would do if a child fell and needed stitches and the parents could not be reached. She was thorough in the way that people are thorough when they have decided that thoroughness is the best available substitute for certainty. The woman she chose was named Marisol Vega. She was 31 years old, the second of 5 siblings. Raised in a household where caring for younger children was simply something you did before you understood there was any other way to spend an afternoon. She had spent the previous 4 years with a family in Connecticut who gave her a handwritten reference letter so warm that the mother had apologized at the bottom of the page for not being able to say more. Rachel read that letter twice, folded it, and placed it in the same kitchen drawer where she kept the important things: the spare house key, the emergency numbers, the pediatrician's card. She never needed to look at it again. Marisol arrived on a Monday in March, and by the following Monday, Lily had stopped crying when Rachel left for work. For 2 years, the house ran the way Rachel had built it to run. Greg traveled for work, sometimes for a week at a time, sometimes longer, and Rachel is a team of 18 people and was home most evenings by 6:15. Marisol was already in the kitchen when she walked in. Lily was already bathed, already fed, already reaching up from the kitchen floor with her arms open. Arranged in the specific expression of a toddler who has been very patient and considers this as a gift she is now presenting. It was a working life. It was a functional life. And it felt, in the way that steady things feel when they are working, like something that would simply continue. Rachel had no reason to look beneath it. She was too tired to look beneath anything. The first sign arrived so quietly that Rachel did not recognize it as a sign at all. One evening in October, Lily was 2.5, the house already smelling of the candles Rachel lit in the evenings to mark the end of the working day. She heard her daughter murmuring behind a closed door. She pushed it open. Lily was asleep, turned on her side, one hand tucked under her cheek, and she was saying a name. Not Mama, not Dada, a name that belonged to Marisol. Rachel stood in the doorway for a long time. She told herself it was nothing, that children form attachments, that this was healthy even, that she should be relieved. Her daughter felt so safe in the care of someone who was not her. She went back to bed. She lay there with the ceiling above her and the name still hanging in the air like something that had not yet landed, and she did not sleep for a long time. Before we go any further, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Rachel did not tell Greg. She did not tell her sister, who would have known what to say, and who Rachel was not yet ready to hear. She did not even let herself sit with the feeling for more than a few minutes at a time, because the feeling did not have a name yet, and she had learned, over 38 years of being herself, that unnamed feelings were best addressed by doing something. So she ordered a DNA test. She sat in her car in the driveway on a Tuesday morning before Marisol arrived, phone in hand, and she told herself she was being practical. The kit arrived on Thursday in a plain cardboard box. She collected a sample from Lily during bath time, a cheek swab, easy and unremarkable, Lily asking what she was doing and Rachel saying it was a special Q-tip, and a sample from a cup Marisol had used that morning, sitting on the dish rack beside the sink. She told herself it would come back with nothing. She told herself she would feel embarrassed. She sealed the package and put it in the mailbox on Friday morning and tried to stop thinking about it. The 12 days that followed were the strangest of Rachel's adult life. She went to work. She came home. She watched Marisol give Lily her bath and read her the same 3 picture books in the same order Lily demanded every night. And she said goodnight the same way she always said goodnight. And she kept her voice level. She noticed things she had not noticed before. The particular way Marisol held Lily's hand when they crossed the driveway. 2 fingers wrapped around Lily's whole fist, not just a loose grip. The way Marisol knew, without being told, that Lily would not eat anything green on Wednesdays but would eat it on Thursdays. The way Lily leaned her whole body into Marisol's side when she was tired. The way children lean into people they have decided are safe. Rachel noticed all of it and told herself she was inventing meaning. Greg asked once if she was all right. She said she was tired. That was true. The email arrived on a Monday evening at 7:43. Lily was asleep. Greg was in the den. Rachel was standing in the kitchen with her phone in her hand and the dinner dishes still a counter, and she almost put the phone down. She almost decided that whatever the email said could wait until morning, when she would be rested, when she would be better equipped to receive information calmly and process it like an adult. She did not put the phone down. The report was formatted the way medical documents are formatted: clinical, systematic, organized into columns. She read it once and did not understand it. She read it again. On the 3rd reading, she understood it completely, and the understanding arrived not as a shock, but as the particular quality of silence that comes after a very loud sound has stopped. Marisol Vega was not a stranger to Lily. The DNA did not say that. What the DNA said was more specific, more structural, and far more difficult to explain away. It said that there was a biological relationship between Marisol and Lily that could not be accounted for by coincidence or contamination or laboratory error. It said that Marisol had known, from before the first morning she ever unlocked their front door and walked into their kitchen, that the child she was being paid to care for was connected to her by blood. Rachel sat down on the kitchen floor, with her back against the cabinet under the sink. She does not know how long she sat there. She remembers the refrigerator humming. She remembers the light above the stove. She remembers a drawing Lily had made that week, taped to the refrigerator at child height. A house, a yellow sun, 4 figures standing in a row, and she stood up and looked at it for a long time and could not decide, in that moment, how many of those figures she actually recognized. She did not confront Marisol on Tuesday or Wednesday. She went to work. She sat through 3 meetings and took notes in her usual handwriting and answered her emails and ordered lunch from the same place she always ordered lunch, and came home at 6:15 and said hello and asked how Lily's day had been. On Thursday evening, after Lily was asleep and Greg was upstairs, Rachel asked Marisol to sit down at the kitchen table. She placed the printed result sheet on the table between them, face up. She did not raise her voice. She did not cry. She asked one question: "I need you to explain this to me. From the beginning. All of it." Marisol looked at the paper. She looked at Rachel. She did not reach for an explanation or a denial. She folded her hands on the table. A small, deliberate gesture, the gesture of someone who has been waiting for this moment and has, in some private part of themselves, been almost relieved to see it arrive. What followed was 45 minutes that Rachel describes as the most clarifying and the most shattering conversation she has ever had. Marisol did not deny what the tests said. She had known before she applied for the job. She had found out through a mutual contact. The long kind of information chain that only exists in families that have kept too many things quiet for too long. That Rachel's husband Greg had a child he did not know about. A child who was being raised by a woman who had no idea of the connection. A child who was Lily. Marisol was that child's biological aunt. She was the half-sister of a woman named Claudia. A woman who had been involved with Greg years before he met Rachel, who had become pregnant, and who had arranged a private adoption through a contact who did not keep records the way records are supposed to be kept. Marisol had spent 2 years sitting across that kitchen table, making dinner in that kitchen, reading stories in that house. Knowing all of this, she had not said a word. Rachel sat across from Marisol in that kitchen and felt the architecture of everything she had built quietly rearrange itself around her. Lily was Greg's biological daughter in a way Greg had never known. The woman they had trusted to care for Lily had come into their home not randomly, not through luck or a well-written reference letter, but deliberately. Marisol said she had not come to cause harm. She said that with her hands still folded on the table and her voice completely steady, she had come because she needed to know that Lily was safe. She had come because she was the only person in Lily's biological family who knew where Lily was, and she had made a decision that being close was better than being absent. Even if being close required a deception she had no clean way to justify. Rachel heard all of this. She believed it. She did not know what to do with believing it. Greg was told that same night. He sat at the kitchen table after Marisol had gone. Her bag gone from the front hall, her keys left on the counter beside the dish rack, and he read the result sheet twice, and then set it face down on the table and did not speak for a long time. He had no memory of Claudia that explained this. He had no awareness that a pregnancy had occurred. He had a daughter, raised for 2.5 years with the complete certainty of a man who had no reason to question the story he had been given, and he now sat in the quiet of his own kitchen learning that the story was true in the ways that mattered, and false in the ways that could not be undone. Rachel watched him read the paper. She watched him set it down. She did not know what to say, and so she said nothing. And the two of them sat in that kitchen in the dark for a while, with Lily asleep upstairs and the refrigerator still humming and the drawing still taped to the door. In the weeks that followed, Rachel learned 3 things she had not been looking for. The first was that betrayal and care are not always opposites. Marisol had deceived her. Marisol had also genuinely and without performance loved Lily. Rachel could hold both of those facts at the same time without being able to resolve them into a single feeling. And eventually she stopped trying. She kept the reference letter from the Connecticut family. She read it once, finally, standing in the kitchen on a Saturday morning. It said everything it had always said. She folded it back up and returned it to the drawer. The second thing she learned was that secrets do not stay where people carrying them intend. Greg's past had not been a locked room he had chosen to keep from her. It had been a room he had not known existed. But Lily had been on the other side of that door from the beginning, and the woman they had hired to care for her had known exactly where the door was and had walked through it every morning and said nothing. The past does not require your cooperation to return. It waits. It finds its own way. Rachel began sleeping through the night again about 6 weeks after the Thursday conversation. She noticed this on a Wednesday morning, standing at the kitchen window with her coffee, watching the street. She noted it the way you note the absence of pain that had become so familiar you had stopped registering it as pain at all. The third thing, the one Rachel talks about the least, is about the version of her family that existed before 7:43 on that Monday evening, and the version that exists now. She does not describe it as better or worse. She describes it as different in the way that a room is different after you have rearranged the furniture. The same room, the same walls, the same light coming through the same windows. But you cannot walk through it in the dark without bumping into something that used to be somewhere else. Lily is 4 now. She calls Greg Dada and Rachel Mama, and she has no language yet for the other things. And Rachel has no timeline for when that conversation will happen, or what shape it will take. What she knows is that Lily is loved. That has not changed. That was never in question. That, Rachel says, is the thing she returned to every morning during those 6 weeks when she was not sleeping. The one fixed point in a map that had shifted entirely. There is something we do not say often enough about the trust we place in the people who move through the daily life of our homes. We call it faith. We call it good instinct. We call it knowing someone. But trust is not certainty. It is a decision made with incomplete information. And we make it because the alternative, keeping everyone at arm's length, carrying everything alone, costs more than most people can sustain for very long. Marisol made a choice that was deceptive and, in her own telling of it, motivated by something that resembled love. Rachel made a choice to order a test she thought would give her nothing. Greg received information about his own life he had never known to go looking for. None of them intended to arrive here. They arrived here anyway, the way most people arrive at the moments that change them. Not through planning, but through the weight of everything they chose not to look at until they could no longer look away. The stories that stay with us are rarely the ones that tell us how to avoid pain. They are the ones that show us, honestly, what pain actually costs, and what, against all reasonable expectation, it sometimes leaves behind. Rachel still has the drawing on the refrigerator. Lily made another one last month. The same house, the same yellow sun, but this time she drew 5 figures instead of 4. And when Rachel asked who the 5th one was, Lily looked at her the way children look at adults who are asking questions they already know the answer to, and said it was just a person, just someone who used to come to the house. Rachel taped it up beside the first one. She has not taken either of them down.